Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to the Animation Today podcast for January 22nd. I am your host, Mark Pudleiner. And again, thanks so much for coming by today and joining us. And anyone that's come by our Animation Today website or the YouTube channel and subscribe, we really appreciate that support. So thanks so much. We're very glad you're joining us. So let's go forward with today's article. And it has to do with director Tex Avery. And in 1949, Tex Avery released his animated short, Bad Luck Blackie. And there's a poster of it. And, directed by Tex Avery. This is Tex when he was a younger man. And Tex definitely, he brought a different sensibility to animation. There was the Disney Silly Symphonies, and from what I get and read, he respected that, but it definitely wasn't his direction. He wanted to push things, and he really did. I mean, this is an example. This is a reaction of one of Tex's characters reacting. So, you're not having Snow White react that way, or you're having, one of the dwarves react that way to Snow White. This is too far. This is too extreme. But so this is Tex. This is the style. And so this article today, I'm not going to talk so much about the history, his path, and all that. It's more about him. He has as a director, his style of direction, working with his crew. And I have some interviews with the crew talking about what it was like to work with him and his sensibility as a person and how he was as a director, and very much about the style of timing, what he discovered worked, and he talks about that. And I have some interviews that he was asked questions and he's answering them regarding his timing and his sensibilities. So that's what this article is about. And I do end up after I'll break down a scene of Tex Avery as well. But let's just go forward with this article and regarding Bad Luck Blackie. But first, let's just listen to Tex. This is him talking about that he's not Disney. So.
Of course, we all know that Disney was the king of the mountain, and as far as cartoons went, with his silly symphonies. In my case, I couldn't compete with Disney, and I didn't attempt to. I attempted to do things that Disney wouldn't dare to do. Out! What I'm getting at is exaggeration in films, wild takes, distorted fairy tales, and I laid off of the fuzzy wuzzy little bunnies because it wasn't my bag along the cute lines.
Daintily, she lowers her head and sips quietly.
Okay, I love his dialogue. The fuzzy wuzzy little bunnies. It wasn't my bag. Anyway, so that's Tex talking himself about how he definitely wasn't Disney. So this is Tex when he joined Leon Schlesinger production on the Warner Brothers lot, and this was back in 1935. And this is him talking about Leon Schlesinger, the producer.
There, we were given full reign of what we wanted to do. Leon Schlesinger, a great boss, not too much sense of humor. He was a money man. He let us do what we felt was right. If we made a good picture, he would say, well, give me another one like it. If we made a dog, why, he said, don't ever do it again.
Don't ever do it again. So I get it. Anyways, it's funny with Tex because this was after the fact. This is years later, but they had a bit of a conflict, Leon Schlesinger and Tex Avery, and it had to do with this cartoon. And this cartoon, I'm just bringing it up because we'll talk about it at the very end of today's article, but this is when I discovered Tex Avery. This is when I realized what is going on with Bugs Bunny. I was a little kid, early 70s, right? I'm watching this on the Bugs Bunny Roadrunner Hour. They showed it every Saturday afternoon. And this cartoon, when I saw it, it was different. The humor. They show Bugs Bunny here, and he's literally falling to his death, following the dog Willoughby, and they are falling and falling and falling, and they don't stop. And I'm like, it's just the timing of it. It's just so funny because it would go on forever. So again, this is Tex. This is his sensibility. As they're falling and falling and falling and falling. And I love this shot. Oh, I love it. And I remember, again, as a kid, I was like, so funny to see this timing. And as I found out later when I, got into animation, like, oh, this is Tex Avery. So it's funny with this, the heckling hair. Leon Schlesinger didn't like the ending. There's a story there. There's another story with the dialogue that has to do with a risque joke. That stuff was being said. And anyways, there's multiple reasons why Tex actually ended up leaving the company at the end of this cartoon, because from what I get, they had a bit of a falling out. But as I showed you early, Tex is talking very highly of Leon Schlesinger as a producer. Like he says, the best producer ever he worked with. So you can have some moments in your career, but when you reflect on it later on, you go, you know what? There are some clashes with, it might be clashes with egos, might be clashes just creatively. It might be clashes with the creative force and the finances. There might be that clash there, but over time you go, you know, actually it was a good time. It was probably the best time, So it seems like with Tex Avery, thinking back, working with Leon Schlesinger, that, as he regards him as his best producer. Really quick, in Tex Avery's from Texas, and they have this sign here, the historical commission marker sign. And I like what it reads here. It has a brief little sort of description. And as it says, he moved to MGM in 42, where he perfected his unique style of rapid fire, logic defying gags. And then at the end here, it says Tex Avery's influence on his craft is difficult to overstate. He created some of the most enduring characters, and that's true. I mean, from Daffy Duck to Bugs Bunny, of all things, like you really actually, he came up with the whole saying of "What's up, Doc?" for Bugs Bunny, because that's what they were saying in their high school. So he said, let's have him say that. Droopy, I mean, there's so many characters that he worked on and his crew pushed, and they became so loved to this day, right? And as it says here at the bottom, the most enduring characters and compositions in history, and directed cartoons that were funnier, faster, and wilder than anyone had ever seen. An enormously talented writer, artist, and director, Tex Avery left his stamp on not just the world of animation, but on the wider universe of American popular culture. And it's so true, because again, his style, the gag, the visual gag, and how he defined it, and discovered it and showed it, is being used today. Anyways, by the way, this marker here, if you're ever in Texas on this intersection of 400 North Main Street in Taylor, Texas, this is the Heritage Square right here, and this is the marker right there. So there's a sign that Texas is recognizing Tex Avery at this Heritage Square. So you can always go by and see where he's being honored there. So let's go forward with the short, the Bad Luck Blackie, and just go through that cartoon. And again, after I'll talk a little bit about his timing with some interviews and his focus on his approach to animation. So, okay, everybody, let's go over the animated short, Bad Luck Blackie. Here's the title card, directed by Tex Avery, with the animation crew, story and music, the producer, and let's go ahead and get into it. So this is the setup is it starts with the big bulldog here, looks like, and he's just terrorizing this cute little kitten. And by the way, that's that's Tex Avery's laugh. He does a lot of voice work on his cartoons, and I'll show later on some of his other voice work, but that's his laugh, just so you know. So he's like this sadistic dog. Here's a moment here that he's also, again, laughing. The kitten's inside his mouth. He throws him way up in the air, and he is concerned he's going to save him. And he laughs at it like it's so bad. And then this one, the poor kitten is like getting beaten up, and here, have some milk. It is so cruel and bad. And that was the whole setup. Tex wanted to make it so the audience wants to see this dog get it. And so as the story continues, the little kitten tries to run away in the bookshelf. The dog sees him and squishes him for the gag. And again, the laugh. The kitten is scampering to get out of there. The kitten runs for safety, trying to hide from that dog. And just then,
Hey, Shorty. Dog trouble? My card.
and that's the setup. There's the card from the Black Cat Bad Luck Company. Whenever that cat is going to cross your path, bad luck is basically guaranteed. So that's what happens.
What do you say? Okay?
They shake on
That's
it.
great, pal. I will now demonstrate.
Watch this dog come running in. Right
I
in.
just brought their pet like this. And bingo! They gets bad luck.
Just like that. So he says, take this whistle.
Yes, whistle.
So now we have the setup. Every time that little kitten is going to whistle, that cat's going to cross the path. And he loves it. There's that whistle. He's so proud. Look at this cute little walk. I want to see that again. Look how cute he is walking. Oh, he's got the whistle. He can do, he's protected now. The dog's going after him. It's so fast. Let's see another one. Oh, look at that take. Oh, that Tex Avery take. I love this. Watch the feet on the cat. Oh, that's such a great walk. Just so happy and confident. And then the take. There's a classic Tex Avery take. Let's go forward. He's trying to get out, and of course, there's a sight gag, the shape of the stairs. Oh, he's cornered. The laugh. The cat comes out of cans, makes no sense. And the piano. Then, as the story goes, the cat's up on the pole, and he blows a whistle, and there's the cat on a balloon. And of course, a bomb comes out of nowhere, and he looks at it, it blows him up, and there's the gag there, his head all ashes. Then there's a box there. The cat goes to the box, curiosity killed the cat. And he goes to open it, and there's the dog. And he's got the whistle himself, so now he's got it. And he's gonna get that cat. So he can blow the whistle. He's setting up to get the cat. I love this gag here. We know what's gonna happen. And yet, watch what the cat does. Beautiful. Anyways, so this shot here, so good. He goes and gets wet paint. He's going to paint that cat. No longer black. He's going to paint it white. So he loses his power. The cat's like, oh my God, I'm no longer a black cat. I don't have the power. What am I going to do? There's a take. And the dog is just, this is so funny. I mean, this dog is just, he's just doing this. He's just laughing and being so mean. Right in his face. The little cat sees this, jumps in the black paint. He knows what to do. And there he goes. He's a black cat now. And now the tables have been turned. And he lands and swallows that whistle. Every time he whistles, something happens. And that's the humor. It's like, it makes no sense, but that's like, where did this stuff come from? Boom. And that is Tex at his best. And just making the humor, and people, it's just so funny. And just goes on and on and on. And of course, at the end, they're shaking hands. And then the little innocent, this is how it ends. That little innocent guy ends up not being so innocent. So anyways, that's the short there. It's so good. Okay. So regarding Tex Avery on the Warner Brothers lot, when he first was there and his sort of his young crew, he had, these young artists with, Chuck Jones was one of them, early 20s. There's Bob Clamp, but these guys ended up becoming directors themselves. But this is Chuck Jones recalling and, his thoughts on Tex Avery working with him.
And it didn't take us long to realize that we were in the presence of somebody who was different. At 20 years old, you don't analyze things like this, but if I had been capable of analyzing, I would have analyzed that I was in the presence of a genius. And I did nothing in my lifetime in observing Tex's pictures have I ever found reason to contradict that.
Yeah, so that's Chuck, and then one of his crew, Mike Lah, animator, he's talking about, this is now about Tex's personality, and surprisingly, that he was actually pretty shy for a director that is just so outgoing with his work. And that's a lot of times as artists, right, isn't it? We can be really quiet, but man, the work can just be screaming at people. Let's listen to Mike.
His idea of making a picture was, give me an opening and a closing and give me 30 gags and I'll make you a cartoon. That's not the kind of a writer that the film business is used to, but that's what it was. So when these gags would come out, when we'd see a picture, he'd analyze each gag, get a reaction. He'd go to a theater to see how the gag went over. And he was very sensitive about failure. God, he would be an absolute nervous wreck. And he would worry all the time right up to that last phase of it, whether it was funny or not, whether he had a funny picture.
So again, like he would go to the theater, back when this cartoon came out in 1949, I was thinking, how many TVs are there? Because, to see these shorts, you have to go to the movie theater. So, when did TV become popular in the States? So by 1948, 1 year before this cartoon was released, only 1% of the US households had television. So by the mid 50s, it totally blew up, and, over 75% of the households. But yeah, so really, this is where you'd have to go see these cartoons. And so you can see Tex going to the theaters and stressing out to see if there's laughs or not. This is the ad here, the movie The Accused, and added as a Catalina interlude, color musical, sort of the intermission. And then there's a cartoon, Bad Luck Blackie, that you could see. That was, back in the 1949 February newspaper there. So Chuck Jones, they're talking about, again, Tex and how shy he was.
Come back to the idea of how shy he was, and he needed to be stroked. Everybody needs to be stroked, but I think he needed a lot more than most people did and do, and yet he was very, very almost miserly in the way he kept things to himself. And if you talk to him, and he would ask your opinion, anybody's opinion about an idea that he was working on, and then he'd have pieces of paper, a little bit of pieces of paper, and he wrote this little tiny writing. He'd write down, and then he'd put it in his pocket, and then he'd go off and then he asked somebody else.
Yeah, and this is June Foray, who worked with Tex and did all these voices talking about working with him, and again, his personality.
I think a lot of people who are modest people don't think much of themselves, but if they are somebody else, if they can portray somebody else, they can be outrageous. I know when I do an outrageous character, I'm not June Foray at all. I'm somebody else, and so I have no inhibitions, and perhaps that is Tex. He was exemplifying something in his head, but he himself was too modest to act that way as a person himself.
This is just a bunch of examples of Tex Avery's vocal work with doing the voices. So he did a bunch of these voices here with the cartoons, like in Bad Luck Blackie, as I mentioned, he's doing that dog laughing, and you'll recognize that laugh in a few of the cartoons here.
I'm the villain in this picture.
So there you go. There's that laugh again. You can definitely hear the similarity laugh.
I'm awful hungry, George.
Now I got you, my little friend. I'm gonna pet you and hold you and pet you and pet you and pet you.
I mean, come on. It must have been so much fun for him. Anyways, just wanted to show someone that's, you know, obviously shy in many ways, but, you know, get him behind a mic or on that drawing board and like look out. So, you know, with people that worked with him and how shy he came across, but, you know, his work himself and how he pushed the crew was definitely not shy. This is Mike Lah, again, animator, talking about Tex's approach with his animation.
I think the main thing was he let himself go. He didn't have any restrictions. And it came finally in the exaggerated drawings, exaggerated takes. Nobody is ever
And here's some
tried that.
drawings
But he went ahead with them
as
a
Mike
lot
is talking about.
without worrying about whether they're going to be funny or not, because they were funny to him. And he tried them out. And I think it was mainly the extreme takes and double takes. I think that stood out more than anything else.
Move.
There's like one take after the other take after the other. Anyways, this is Tex talking about his exaggeration.
In my career, I always attempted to exaggerate. Everything I did was exaggeration. I would attempt to top other cartoons that I'd seen in the way of a take. I would go further.
Okay, so this is a book that I had when I was growing up by Joe Adamson, and you know, Tex Avery, King of Cartoons. This is it right here. You know, it's a great book, and in the book he ends up interviewing Tex, and they're talking back and forth regarding the style of animation, the sensibility of his humor, and he does. I've copied a few of the questions here that he asks. This is Joe here as he's a little older, but Joe asks Tex in their interview. He says, Fritz Freeling insists that you always have to believe in a character as a living being. And as soon as he falls apart and puts himself back together again, you don't believe him in anymore. You can't break him apart and then people will believe that he's a character again. And Tex is like, no. I don't think he's right because I've done it so much. My goodness, I don't know. It never seemed to bother us as far as demolishing a character or making him appear unbelievable. It never seemed to bother anybody else either. And this is Joe, the author of the book, talking about Tex and this very subject about breaking up a character and making him believable.
That you can kill a character, destroy him, maim him, whatever, and just bring him back to life again, and the audience will accept it as funny, especially if it's so wild and insane it couldn't possibly happen. This was his way of looking at it. He said, my thought was that an audience would think, well, that could never happen to a guy, and then it's funny. He never saw it as violent, and he was not a violent person.
I love it's like he's not a violent person, and then the dog's just about to smack him. But that's the humor, right? Like he's looking for the humor. So the question, as Joe, this is the article in the book, the interview, and this is just a few of the questions that he asked. I thought I would highlight. What would you say your impossible style of comedy deprived from? And Tex says a lot of it comes from the old slapstick comedies. Chaplin, I guess, everyone copied him. If a human can do it, a lot of times it isn't funny in animation. This is Tex talking. Or even if it is funny, a human can do it funnier. They attempted to make a Laurel and Hardy cartoon series. My goodness, you can't copy their reactions and all that. I mean, a Laurel and Hardy live action, those actors, so much of the appeal and the humor are those little subtleties in their faces. And yeah, it's not going to work in animation as far as that series go, trying to do a Laurel and Hardy cartoon. Yeah. But as he said here in the interview, but if you can take a fellow and have him get hit on the head and then he cracks up like a piece of china, then you've got to laugh because they cannot do it live. You can't do that with a real person. So Joe's asking, is this something you worked on deliberately? Let's do a lot of things that couldn't possibly happen. And Tex, I guess we did. Let's go wilder than we did last time, faster too. Joe says, it seems to me a lot of things you did wouldn't be funny if they weren't happening so fast. I mean, that's so much Tex's humor, right? The fast gag, one after the other. And Tex says, that's right. I think I started the faster trend. We started filling in more gags. Prior to that, they felt you had to have a story. Finally, we got to where the story was just a string of gags with a topper. So I found out the eye could write. This is interesting. I found out the eye can register an action in 5 frames of film. So 5 frames of film at 24 seconds. So it's roughly 1/5 of a second to register something from the screen to your eye to their brain. I found out if I wanted something just to barely be seen, 5 frames was all it was needed. So 5 frames, that's all you need to really just register for that human eye to take it in. What would ruin it, like the gag, would be 2 or 3 seconds of film. No, you have nothing. Say you had an anvil falling, you bring it in perhaps 4 or 5 frames before the hit, and that's all you need. Bang, it's there. And you don't know where the hell it came from. That's just like Bad Luck Blackie. The stuff is just falling. It makes the gag that much funnier. If you saw this thing falling down, coming down, and you pan down with it, and it hits, Then at MGM, we build up a different type of humor, a faster humor. You can see them evolve. Put all my cartoons together and start running them. And well, it looks like speeding up film. You can run the old stuff and they would take 30 feet of film to do a gag. We found that if we could cut it down and do it in 8 feet, it would still read and it's funnier. And you take television today, you can get a gag in 6 frames. You can hit a gag and show it. We gunned things up to the point where we could get twice as much stuff in a cartoon, getting from one situation right into another. A guy would no sooner get hit with an anvil on his head, take one step and he falls in a well. Keep them going. It builds up your audience. So my prime reason, as he says, was on the good ones. We wanted to get more gags in. I said, we'll time this as fast as we can because we got so much more to come. If you can, and again, this is interesting for the animators, if you can read a line drawing of an anvil falling in a pencil test, you know you can read it in the film because it becomes a solid, meaning when you color it in. We ran tests years ago on a bouncing ball and a line drawing. It looks so very fast, but you paint it in, and as he says, the damn thing floats because you've got a solid rather than just lines moving. You fill it in and it slows it up by at least a third. Another thing we learned. So yeah, you're looking at your animation, and when you color it in, when it gets painted in, it slows it down the action. So that's another thing. Interesting here. A question Joe says, were you thinking of children when you made most of your cartoons, or were you thinking of an adult audience? Oh, we didn't think. We didn't think. I guess we lean more towards an adult audience, even with the early Bugs Bunny. I tried to do something I thought I would laugh at if I were to see it on the screen, rather than worry about, will a 10-year-old laugh at this? Because we couldn't top Disney, and we knew we had the kid following, so we went for the young and the went for the adults and the young people. So
one thing that Tex said was we knew that Disney had the kid audience sewn up, so we went after teenagers and young adults. Well, that's one way to do it. And if you start thinking about your cartoons that way, and he said he did not think, will a 10-year-old laugh at this? As soon as you start thinking, will a 10-year-old laugh at this, you become a little bit compromised and a little bit slower and a little bit more deliberate, and you get into what they do on TV when they go, wait, what's a 6-year-old going to think when he sees this? And they just did not think that way at all.
yeah, and this is Tex himself talking about, animating for kids, or what his focus was.
I've been asked many times, did I make my cartoons for kids? I never did. I thought nothing of the children at the time.
Here's a shy little deer. Hello, dear.
Hello, big boy.
The people in the studio, I would think of them. If it would get a laugh from them, I would go that route.
Okay, yeah, very much. I mean, Tex's, definitely unique sensibility of with his humor and how he pushed things. For how popular Disney was, then Tex came in with his crew, and they must have had so much fun doing this stuff, pushing the boundaries. Anyways, I'm gonna stop for a moment, and I want to break down one of the scenes from Bad Luck Blackie that we showed earlier. So let's go forward with the breakdown. Okay, hello everybody. Let's take a quick moment here. I just want to go through some A couple moments here on this one scene for the animation breakdown, and it's Bad Luck Blackie, and this is the shot here. It's when the dog is grabbing the paint and going to paint the cat white, and the action of him grabbing that paintbrush and lifting it up to hit that cat. Let's watch this action play out here. So the dog snaps in, grabs the paint, stirs it, and then lifts it up and does that, blows that whistle. It's so fast. And this is one of those things where, as Tex Avery, as I mentioned earlier, he noted with timing that if you had 5 frames, that's all you needed was 5 frames to really register that pose. And so part of his charm of his animation and what he discovered was go from one pose to the next to show all these gags play out. And this is really extreme. But so the one thing I wanted to get into was the actual grabbing of the paint of the brush and the grabbing of the paintbrush and stirring it. So yeah, there he is. He's reaching up. I love the look on his face, right? He's looking right towards where he's going to grab. So that's also definitely on purpose, letting us know that he is going to grab. So everything matters. You're going to grab this in so few frames. So like us having those pupils, and this is more for the students, of course, but having those pupils locked into where the target is, it really helps. Bang. So he is looking down. There he is, grabbing onto it. And then he's, of course, where is he going to go? The storytelling is the pupils are going towards screen right, because that's where he's going to go with the paintbrush. So again, there's some foreshadowing of that whole story there of this action. Meanwhile, he's brushing, he's brushing that paint 100 miles an hour, and his eyes are just locked onto where he's going to go. So again, those are just couple little story notes. But let's go ahead with the animation as it goes up. So he's anticipating the grab, and when you go into the grab, you're going to grab the object. There it is. And when you first grab the object, when you start a cycle, you want to sort of ease into it. So you need to have this be longer. The actual grab of that is longer. Let's watch how many frames it takes. For one thing, look at this. Look at from that anticipation to it's just starting to move. It's, this is the hand up here, and then there it is there as it's starting to move. And then the very next frame, it's smacking all the way down there. Again, it goes all the way there. We don't need that in between. We just go from there, bang, all the way there. Now, this is when he first grabs it, right? So when he first grabs it, we need to see it a little longer than when it starts getting into the motion of the cycling. So let's go ahead and smack it there. So when he grabs it right here, when the first time he grabs it, I think there's 5 frames. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 you start to pull. So you have 4, and then the 5th one you start to ease out, but you need to have the grab long enough. So in this case, they animated the grab where there was 4 frames, and then the 5th frame right there, it's starting to pull into the cycling. Okay, so let's go ahead and once we have the straight, let's go ahead and there's a straight there. Okay, so there's a straight. Now let's count how many frames until we go to the straight again. So from this one, it's on ones. There's the pull. So 1 drawing, 2 drawings, 3 drawings, and this is the extreme of the pull, 3, and then 4 drawings were in between back into the straight again, back into the straight. So again, as you break it down, there's the grab. This is when you're in the middle of the cycle of him stirring the paint. There's a straight, starting to pull, in between into the most extreme back almost, and there it is there. 3, and then there's 1 in between, 1 frame going back towards the straight again, and that's the cycle. So that is the cycle of this action. Okay, so let's go forward from there. What I want to talk about with this is the reason I stopped this shot was the extreme poses of the anticipation of him blowing the whistle, anticipating. Watch. It's so fast, like it's so fast, and it's under that like again, knowing that 5 frames is what's needed to really see it. So let's go ahead and there he is there. He's hitting the pose. So let's count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now he's going to start to anticipate. So he's squishing down a little bit. And this is going to be the anticipation to anticipate. There's the 5, 6, and then look at that. All the way back there. Done, right? No in between. So you actually go from here, you squish down 1, 2 frames, and then you smack it all the way back in one, no in betweens. 1, let's see how many frames are in this for this action. I want to guess here. I mean, we can see it, but it's so fast. So let's take a look. 1, 2, 3. Now he said 5. You can read 5. So this is 3 frames. 4, 5. This is the 5th frame. So this is the 5th frame. He's anticipated back. So if you go by what their math was, you can see 5 frames is all you need. The next one should be forward. That's 6. And there's 7. So it's 6 frames. So that's the in between. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then smack it. Look at that, all the way forward. No, no in between. Just boom. And look at the reversal in the curve from the body language. Curving this way, all the way that way, and then the opposite way, and no in between. Okay, watch. Boom. 1, 2. And of course, his legs are pushing up as his body goes this way. And the next one, watch. His legs are up in the air. So you feel that action. So let's go. This is 6 frames. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And I'm counting this because you can see this pose for that 12 frames before he settles back down. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's a whole second. 24, 25, 26, 20. Okay, 26 until he starts coming. Oh, look at that. He's up there. And to go back into the settle, all he does is he's taking this body this way, and he's literally just taking the head and having the legs go back down again. Watch. From 26 frames up in the air where his body is just like this, blowing that whistle, right? And then he just goes 1, 2, and back there, 3. I would have thought this would be on ones, but it's not. It's 1, 2, 1 frame, and then you settle back into that, to that. So you're settling into that. And then you obviously watch, he goes back up this way, and then he settles back down this way. So it's just in between up and then settle back down. Watch it. In betweening, going smacking into that. On ones, up. There's the overshoot, and then it starts to settle back down again into that pose. It's so fast. Let's watch the whole thing. It's so good, right? Like, it's just, you don't want it any faster than that. It's got to read when he blows that whistle, but you can see that pose. You can see that pose. You can see this. This is on for 26 frames, and then he settles back. Okay. Anyways, some amazing stuff. Of course, I needed to break down some Tex Avery stuff. and that timing. And this is the cool thing. It's they push this stuff so extreme to like what's the minimum amount of frames that we get to push things so the audience can register. If you go too fast, you're going to kill it. It can't be too fast. But man, they went right up to that very last frame, like 5 or 6 frames. That's all that's needed. And of course, how you go in and out of them with the overshoot and settle, it cushions it as well. But anyways, really good stuff. Okay, let's continue on. Okay, just to wrap up the article, going back to the heckling hair that I talked about earlier on, and the reason Tex Avery quit Leon Schlesinger Productions on the Warner Brothers lot was it had to do with a couple things. This is one, the ending of this cartoon. Tex wanted Bugs Bunny and Willoughby the dog to fall off the cliff multiple times, like fall off another cliff, then fall off another cliff, and Leon Schlesinger wasn't really liking that ending, so he sort of behind Tex's backs just ended the cartoon like this, where they come to a stop. And that wasn't really what Tex wanted creatively. So there was that conflict. And also Tex was involved with this other project that he wanted to support, where he had live action animals and they were to talk with animated mouse.
It sure is. So why don't you come up and sing?
So, Leon Schlesinger was trying to get him to not do that. He wasn't really buying that idea. And so there was that conflict too. But also with the Bugs Bunny short, there was I found this book. There's a at the very end of during the cartoon, when they keep falling over and over, the wording was hold on to your hat, boys, here we go again. And that was in reference, as I found out, there's a risque joke that was going around at the time that was popular. And I did some research and I found with this book the history of dirty jokes, and I found, you can find it in the bookstore here. I found the joke and what it was referring to. So I'll just zoom in here. And this is the joke. I'll let you read it. And so that also had to do with the ending of that Bugs Bunny cartoon, which caused even more of a conflict. So the way the words went down. This is sort of a unofficial. They don't actually have it on the script, but this was a story that was going around. When you start finding out about what happened with this cartoon, this is definitely comes up in the conversation. So now going forward to this is just Tex Avery's gravestone. This is in Forest Lawn in Burbank. I just saw it. If anyone is in Burbank, they wanted to visit and give their respects to Tex, this is where he is. There is the information as far as the plot number, and it's actually right across or right overseeing the Walt Disney Feature Animation Building. There's the animation building there in Burbank. There's the water tower at the Disney lot, and this is the ABC building. So it's just over the hill, and this is where Tex is located. So for anybody that's in that area, there's location if you ever want to again visit and give some respects to for Mr. Avery. So anyways, that is the article for today, and we will continue on.